A very warm welcome to IDFC First Bank presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 14, co-powered by Star Health Insurance. I'm Ritwika Gupta. Today's episode is going to be all about how artificial intelligence is reshaping the global economy and what it means for India's future as a tech powerhouse. To decode what could become India's greatest advantage in the AI era, I'll be in an exclusive conversation with Srikanth Velamakanni, Chairperson, NASSCOM and Group Chief Executive and Executive Vice Chairman, Fractal AI. Srikanth, welcome to ET Now Leaders of Tomorrow. It's a pleasure to be chatting with you today.
Great to be here.
So, I'm really looking forward to this conversation because it's going to be about AI, entrepreneurship, and much more. So let's talk about, technology. We have seen multiple waves of technology, whether it is the internet, smartphones, cloud. But when we speak of AI, it somehow feels different. Maybe because it is impacting every other industry, it is impacting our everyday lives. So I want to know from you, where do you think India is, in this whole AI transformation story?
First of all, this AI wave is a much bigger wave than the previous ones that you mentioned.
Sure.
It's of the same order as Industrial Revolution and the connectivity ICT revolution of the last 100 years. So what Industrial Revolution did was, before that, labor was very valuable. Your physical labor was very important. The ability to move things and manipulate things with force, right? Then came machines, and it made physical labor obsolete.
Yeah.
Then came the connectivity revolution, whether it's airlines or telecommunication or information, internet, which made distance go away. Distance didn't matter anymore. You could speak to anyone, anywhere in the world. You could travel on a plane. It created globalization in massive, massive scale. Now we have AI, which is making intelligence obsolete. That is amazing, right? Because so far we've all thought that human beings are valuable because we are so smart, we are so intelligent. We are the thinking Homo sapiens, the intelligent human being. And now what if a Homo machine, right? It's not Homo, it's a machine which is as intelligent or more intelligent than human beings, then our intelligence is no longer the most important thing that we possess. Something else is more important. So it is such a big change, and therefore it can be seen as something that is way bigger and different from the previous revolutions.
Very interesting and very exciting as well. So India, I think for the longest time, it was one of the most mature and I would say even the largest outsourcing markets as well. But AI may change the economics of outsourcing. So I want to understand, do you think we are entering an era of reinvention that we need to look at how we are conducting businesses?
So it is kind of, if you believe what I said in the previous question, to the answer to the previous question, it's automatically clear that the world will have to change very significantly if something so significant is happening in the world. So, and I like to think of this as the first order and second order effects of everything.
Sure.
First order is what happens to the task. If some task has become easier, cheaper, of course, it means that the cost of that task has come down, maybe demand will go up, etc., which is the first order effect. The second order effect is how the world adapts to this change. For example, because airlines got invented, globalization became possible. You could travel and do business everywhere. The world became one unified workforce. So that was not something that people thought when they invented aviation. Right. So like AI has invented this new way of doing things. Now the world will dramatically change because of that. What has India been successful with so far? Right? We've had extremely smart people who can solve very complex problems and write software which runs the world. And they could be 5,000 miles away. It was possible because of the ICT revolution. So we built the whole outsourcing industry. It is 10% of India's economy. It is potentially fueling all of our middle class. So it's been a game-changing innovation. But now with AI, the basic equation between capital and labor is changing.
Right.
Capital is producing AI. AI is intelligent. AI can solve problems by itself. It can replace human time with machine time. And the first order effect is to think that, oh, this is a bad thing. because now we have competition for human time. But if you look at the second order effect, it makes production of intelligence cheaper and cheaper, which means that the world will expand dramatically. We'll have amazingly positive outcomes, and India could also benefit significantly from there. But it won't happen without some kind of reinvention or innovation at our end as well. The exact same model by which we served the world for the last 30 years will not survive for the next 20 years.
Right. Which brings me to my next question. While there is excitement for AI, there's also, anxiety over job disruption. How do you see this tension between opportunity and, disruption? And what does human capital even mean today?
See, as you rightly said, the initial impact of this is there could be some job losses. There are job losses happening right now. And it is actually important to look at that data in a little bit more carefully. Job losses are not happening at the mid to senior levels. Job losses are actually happening at the entry levels. People who are just entering the workforce are finding it hard to find jobs.
Right.
Whereas the people with experience are actually getting more valuable because they are the ones seen as who can lead me in this AI revolution. So you're seeing that kind of thing happen, and which is a problem because we want the people who are just joining the workforce to be able to join the workforce, get a comfortable salary, learn over the next few years, and then become mid to senior in a way that we all have done.
Yeah.
But that is getting currently disrupted by the new wave of AI. Now, how do you solve for that? First thing I would say is that every person who is currently in the market for jobs or currently in an education institution must also think, is there an opportunity for me to become an entrepreneur? Because it's never been cheaper to become an entrepreneur. It's never been more feasible to build a product. It's never been cheaper to build a team and a product, right? So you can build a business right now like you could never before. And because AI is making so many things so much cheaper, it'll be possible for many entrepreneurs to emerge and build completely new, impossible things today, right? And that's really where I would push, number one. Number two is that if I have to get a job today, I might have to try other stuff. Like, for example, try internships as a starting point. So companies can try before they can buy, right? So you become an intern and it gives you an opportunity to learn and become really good at something. Three, I have to go in deep into a topic and become an expert on that topic. Maybe you can build something and launch a little product. So instead of sending people resume, you can say, hey, here's my link to my GitHub repository, right? Here's a product that I've built and it works already. So you can do some work and sort of do that in trying to get a job. So what I'm saying is that, yes, the world has changed, but we have to respond to the changing world and build ourselves in such a way that we are very relevant in the age that is upon us.
Right, fantastic. I want to talk a little bit about India's digital public infrastructure. It's a model that is being studied globally now, whether we speak of the ONDC, Aadhaar, UPI, India Stack. I want to know, how do you think India's DPI can actually become a big advantage, can actually help, lead to more AI innovation in the country?
Let's examine what the DPI stack has done, right?
Yeah.
Number one, if you think of Aadhaar, it created a way in which identity could be verified, right? Anybody could establish that, okay, this is me, and identity got solved in the process. Now that has spawned off a number of different things, including easy access to airports and through Digi Yatra and things like that. So these have all become possible because identity has been established as a stack.
Sure.
Then we had the UPI stack, which is one layer above that. How can I do payments seamlessly? If all banks and other merchants and others agree on a simple protocol of how money moves between the entities, UPI becomes possible. And that has now created this huge fintech infrastructure in our country, by which India is the most digitally savvy nations in terms of digital payments. It's got more volume than any other country. So that's happened. Now the next step is what is required, which is, what is the intelligence stack on that? These are identity, we have solved for payments. Can we now make the systems more intelligent? Can we guarantee that there is intelligence in any system of interaction between any two entities?
Sure.
That is the intelligence stack. So I would think that you could build a broad intelligence stack like the foundation models, OpenAI or Anthropic or Gemini kind of models, or you could say, I will build it vertical by vertical, or industry by industry. Let me solve it for healthcare. Let me solve it for education, especially from a government lens. These are the most important sectors: education, healthcare, let's say financial services. Take sector by sector approach and build the smartest AI in that sector, which understands India's systems, India's people, India's government, and therefore can connect the dots to deliver flawless services at the cheapest possible rate. This is the next layer that is required. India is beginning to build it, but this will be something that will be game changing for India.
It's time for a quick break here. We'll be back shortly. Stay tuned.
Presented by IDFC First Bank, always you first. Co-powered by Star Health Insurance.
Welcome back to IDFC First Bank presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 14, co-powered by Star Health Insurance. In this episode, we are looking at how entrepreneurs, professionals, and policymakers can adapt to a rapidly changing tech landscape. When we look at India's startup ecosystem, we have about 1 lakh registered startups. I'm sure there are many more. But from my observation, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think too many are in the deep tech, the AI first, startups, that's what I'm saying. They're more in the convenience, lifestyle, retail products, which is great as well. Why do you think that is happening? And do you agree, first of all, do you think India needs to produce perhaps more AI first startups in the country?
See, entrepreneurs are going to do what they will do. They will search for ideas and they'll see where there is traction, and then they'll build business around that, right? Nobody wants to, entrepreneurship is hard enough. Nobody wants to make that job any harder by trying to solve hard problems when easy problems can give them enough returns. So that to some extent, it makes sense for entrepreneurs to pick ideas where they feel they can build a substantial business, where they can raise capital easily, where they can hire people easily. So if you're going for convenience businesses, that's actually not a bad thing. India still needs tremendous number of household products and consumer products and various other things, services, all of them, right? Therefore, you have many entrepreneurs who can solve different problems and build their own niche, depending on their risk appetite, depending on their capabilities, depending on their ability to raise investments and so on. In that scheme of things, there should be enough companies that are AI first or building AI companies as well. And that is also happening, in my opinion. There are about 3,500 deep tech startups in our country. Okay, NASSCOM tracks this kind of stat. And more than 90% of them are AI first. And what I have seen in the last maybe 5 to 10 years, my own observation is that the new crop of entrepreneurs are extraordinarily more ambitious. And these guys are willing to take a lot more risks and think much bigger and bolder compared to the entrepreneurs of the 70s who were probably building just most basic businesses at that time.
Sure.
So you are seeing very high quality entrepreneurs. They're thinking very big and they're building amazing businesses. So I feel very optimistic that with AI making things easier and cheaper, it'll spawn the kind of entrepreneurship that India has been waiting for.
Do you think AI will democratize entrepreneurship, especially for smaller businesses, MSMEs who anyway lacked, access to information, resources, technology? Or do you think it will just make the gap even wider between larger companies and smaller companies?
It's a wonderful question. And the answer will play itself out. My own sense is that companies, Google democratized search, right? Democratized information. When I was growing up, if I had to find something, a research or topic, I would go to a library or try to find a library or try to find an expert on a topic. I remember I was giving a small speech in French back when I was in 11th grade. I was doing a mock United Nations and I was a representative of France. So I had to write a couple of paragraphs in French. And it was such a difficult task because I was looking for, there's one French guy living in our neighborhood and I somehow found him and got 15-20 minutes of his time and he wrote me a little paragraph. But today, anybody who wants to write a paragraph in French can do it in 2 seconds. So things have changed Google democratized information, AI is making it just 10xing it or 100xing it in a way that anybody who needs any information, any source of intelligence, any knowledge or methodology of solving a problem, everything is possible. So this makes it cheaper, easier for MSMEs to think about their business, innovate in their business, and think what's next for their business. Sure. So overall, it's a good thing. Of course, big companies also can use this technology and they have a lot more capital. So how that plays out will depend on how innovative the MSMEs are and how disrupted the big companies are.
Sure. So for all the young professionals who are just about entering the workforce, should they look AI as a co-worker? Because I think things have changed, right? Like you mentioned, what advice would you have for them, in terms of how they should upskill themselves, how they should prepare, when they're entering workforce in 2026?
You have to find, AI is going to be here with us. There's no doubt about that. It's a technology whose time has come. It's only going to get better. It's only going to get cheaper. And it's only going to open up a whole host of possibilities that we didn't think of before. So this is like the internet 25 years ago, but 100 times the size of that. So do not ignore it. Absolutely use it to improve whatever you're doing, whether you're learning a topic, whether you're building a product, whether you're building a startup, whether you're applying for a job. In every such situation, AI can come in and help you in landing that better. So absolutely use this as an ally, as a co-worker, as someone you can learn with, learn from, and teach as well, right? So that it becomes even more relevant to you. So do that, but do not make AI your master. Do not become emotionally dependent on AI or things like that. People, it does happen with people. So you have to recognize that at the end of the day, it's a machine. It does not have any consciousness.
Right. And what would your message be for the leaders out there, the industry leaders, veteran leaders who have been in the business for, more than 20 years or so, do you think adaptability is going to be a new leadership skill now?
Yeah. So one thing I've told myself that at some point of time, maybe 20 years from now, I'm going to look at some new technology and say, hey, it's too new technology for me. It's fancy. I don't have to learn this.
Yeah.
And that was the day I will start degrowing as an individual, right? Because I have seen this happen to the previous generations. Oh, I don't really access the internet. I don't really need a smartphone. I don't do email. And they have then lost out because it has become harder and harder for them to catch up afterwards.
Yeah.
So AI is that kind of a technology. If you have 20, 30 years of experience, if you're not leveraging AI to learn and get better at your current job and find out what else you can do and learn new topics and things like that, then you're already under-invested in AI. So to the extent possible, take maybe an hour or 90 minutes a day or 3-4 hours over a weekend and learn how to use AI and try to solve a few problems. The good news is that you can ask the AI to even teach how to use AI, right? It's such a good technology today that you can say, hey, look, I don't know anything about ChatGPT. Just tell me how to use ChatGPT. What's the best way to use ChatGPT? So curiosity is really the only constraining factor. And someone with the 20 years of experience may have lost some of the curiosity because you feel like, look, I know everything. I know everything in my industry. I'm going to stay put here. No, that may not work. You may have to find your relevance again by learning these new techniques and technologies. And that is my push to you is go and find that out and then have this beginner's mindset, what I call as the beginner's mindset. Beginner's mindset is that it's the day one every day. This morning, everything I've done till now, I can't rest on my past laurels. Today I have to start from the basics, from the first principles and say, I'm Srikanth, I'm first day at work, let me learn what I can learn today.
Absolutely. Srikanth, the theme for our show this season is Emerging Businesses, the India Advantage. What do you think will be India's biggest advantage in the overall AI and deep tech economy? Because structurally, we are still behind the US and China.
Firstly, India has 1.4 billion population. I know we used to think of our population as one of our biggest weaknesses. I lived in the 70s and 80s where this was we were trying to reduce our population. Today, the whole world is desperately trying to increase their population and the population growth is actually declining everywhere. In fact, population is decreasing in many countries. India has the benefit of 1.4 billion population of extremely talented, capable people, which means data getting produced is in much, much larger. India has largest data sets on any problem, like whether it is just conversational data, language data, medical data. Think of that, AI models need data, and India has the largest data set, number one. Two, the market. 1.4 billion people in one market. So if you build something unique and big, interesting, you have 1.4 billion people that you can reach immediately, which is not many countries can talk about that. So that's a huge advantage. And then, India also has the demographic dividend. Right? We have young people with a bunch of entrepreneurs. So if young people who are well educated, let's say from very nice colleges, India has very good educational system as well. So with great colleges, they come in and they think of amazing ideas and build the future of the country at the 1.4 billion population with the data advantage, with the market advantage. We can be leaders of the 21st century.
Fantastic. And well, finally, Srikanth, say hypothetically, we are having this conversation in 2036, 10 years from now. Tell me, what would surprise people the most about how AI changed their lives and businesses?
I think the world will be a very different place when intelligence becomes commodity, right? Everybody has access to intelligence. It means that we could potentially do something absolutely game-changing. For example, curing all diseases is possible. Interplanetary travel, possible. New laws of physics being found or new things being created, possible. So all of these things are possible because we have access to a higher level of intelligence.
Yeah.
Over the last billions of years, this is the culmination of where we have reached. And that is the concept of AI, where we have said that the first time ever, we don't have to rely on our own intelligence. We can use a machine intelligence. I think that the world will be very different 20 years from now than it is today.
Well, looking forward to that world. Thank you so much, Srikanth, for your time today.
Thank you, Ritwika.
With that, it's a wrap on this edition of IDFC First Bank presents the Leaders of Tomorrow Season 14, co-powered by Star Health Insurance. We hope you enjoyed the episode. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.
Presented by IDFC First Bank, always you first. Co-powered by Star Health Insurance.